Welcome to Park Street University. I'm Emily Pennington, the content manager for Park Street, and I head up the educational programming. We have a number of educational panels for Global Bar Week, and today's is going to focus on the direct to consumer topic. Arthur Shapiro is our moderator. He has a long history in the wine and spirits industry, much of which has focused on marketing and consumer research. He's consulted for Jose Cuervo, Brown-Forman, Patron, and Beam Global, but these days he's shifted his focus to startup ventures, and more specifically, learning everything there is to know about the direct-to-consumer regulations for spirits. He's done a handful of panels for us before, and he's always puts on a good show. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to him to introduce the topic.
Thank you, Emily. I've been in the business for a long time, but there's no truth to the rumor that I invented liquor. It's just not what the case was. So anyhow, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with this distinguished panel. Direct-to-consumer, or DTC, shipments of spirits, while not as large as for wine, has been growing dramatically for the past few years. Unquestionably, the coronavirus has accelerated the DTC market with new platforms emerging and a wide array of brands entering the picture. But this panel, the outlook for direct-to-consumer spirit sales, is intended to understand this emerging element in brand building and purchasing, and with a sharp eye to the future and where it's heading. My involvement and knowledge of the DTC world stems from my work with startup and emerging brands. For the majority of these products, the route to market is limited at best and incredibly difficult at worst. There's no villains here. It's business, and follow the money. Distributors or the sales rep will tell you that in the amount of time it takes to sell a small brand, they can sell a pallet of a top 10 brand. Retailers will also say, which of the big, fast and moving brands do you want me to take off the shelf to make room for your wannabe winner brand? And so DTC has become a critical component of brand development. But it's not just small brands. It's all brands the consumer discovers that are highly desirable but hard to find. These would include top shelf brands that have limited editions or special variations. What makes the DTC landscape so interesting is that there are various segments and approaches, each offering the consumer ways to purchase directly while still staying within the mandatory three-tier system. We have three speakers on the panel today, each representing a different component of the DTC world. Drizzly is the world's largest alcohol marketplace and offers consumers convenience and quick access to products. Known as the Amazon for liquor, Drizzly lets users order a variety of beer, wine, and spirits directly from local retailers to their location through a mobile app or website. Here with us today is Liz Paquette, Head of Consumer Insights at Drizzly. Liz is a strategic marketer and planner with over a decade of experience in advertising and the startup world. At Drizzly, Liz heads up brand and consumer insights. In her role, she leads brand strategy and marketing, communications, creative, and the data and insight platform known as BevAlc Insights. Prior to Drizzly, Liz has held a number of marketing positions, including an innovation festival in Massachusetts and many in the travel and advertising area. She is a WSET, Wine and Spirits Education Trust, with Level 3 certification. Our second speaker will be from Passion Spirits. Passion Spirits is in two segments. They operate an online store, but also provide brands with a white label approach, the ability to embed a store on a brand's own website. Founded in 2006, Passion Spirits offers the opportunity for small to medium brands to have a direct route to market. Alan Scheinman is founder and president of the Passion Spirits. Mr. Scheinman's goal is to develop new services and innovative strategy for the direct-to-consumer distribution channel. Alan's experience in the wine and spirits industry began 18 years ago working for such companies, transnational companies, as Allied Domecq and Pernod Ricard. Mr. Scheinman's positions always involve the launch and development of emerging and or establishing brands within the Americas. So he's been on both sides of the desk. Nick BevAlc, chairman and CEO of the Spirits Network, is a successful entrepreneur, producer, and media executive with a passion to create innovative media experiences across multiple platforms. Nick's newest division, Spirits Network, is providing consumers shoppable streaming entertainment on more than 80 million devices. Spirits Network is NBTV's channel's first shoppable network, enabling spirits enthusiasts to watch, purchase, and taste premium spirits. And that's our panel for today, and I think we'd like to start with Liz Paquette. Liz?
Okay. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Liz. I am here to share a little bit about Drizzly and how we work, share some of the trends that we've been observing, and take you through how you can get involved with Drizzly as well. So Drizzly is North America's largest e-commerce marketplace for alcohol. We were founded back in 2012, really when our founders sent a simple text back and forth, wondering why they could get everything else delivered except for alcohol, and then set off on a journey to develop a solution that would do just that. So really, we exist to help bring the alcohol industry online. We're a tech solution to support and enable the 3 tiers. And from a consumer perspective, all about helping to make their good times a little bit better. In terms of how specifically we work, we actually exist to kind of bring retailers' shelves online. So how we work is we bring retailer shelves online in our simplest form. So we partner with retailers across North America to bring their inventory online, digitize their shelves, and then we connect consumers directly to those retailers. So we're a brand first shopping platform. So consumers can shop by brands on our platform, and then the retailers in their local area will actually be the ones to deliver that product directly to their door in under 60 minutes. At Drizzly, we have a singular focus on beverage alcohol. So unlike other marketplaces out there that may work cross category, we intentionally have been focused on beverage alcohol specifically. Unlike other, I'd say, technology companies and other categories where disruption is the key word, we are actually not out to disrupt this industry. We were actually built to be compliant within the 3-tier system. So as it exists today, we're compliant across a number of states in the US where we're able to operate, and today cover about 65% of America's drinking population. We were designed to kind of support this fragmented industry. So as mentioned, we have a brand first shopping model, but are built directly to support both independent and chain retailers across the US and Canada, and also partner with a number of distributors as well to help them bring their partners online. And then all of that exists to help create the best shopping experience, we believe, for consumers. So providing them with the choice and the ability to get the convenience of delivery right to their door, but through the access of the widest selection of beer, wine, and spirits, and the ability to price compare across the stores in their areas, read reviews from consumers and experts in their area, and then have that, again, that delivery opportunity so that it all kind of creates this cohesive experience where they get that right to their door. E-commerce overall has been within this category a small but growing category. So relative to other categories, specifically the penetration of digital sales in beverage alcohol historically has remained still in the low single digits, even though it's the hot topic today. The biggest barrier really, as we saw it, to success and growth of this category specifically was primarily awareness. It was something like 45% of all consumers of legal drinking age in the US specifically actually believed that it may not be legal to get alcohol delivered. So really kind of setting out to help shift that perception, build awareness that this solution exists. So again, kind of slow growth, but growing. And then 2020 happened. So I think we're all probably familiar with what occurred this year, but we experienced about 10 years growth in 3 months. So really, we've been kind of waiting for this inflection point to take place in this category. It has, as it has in others, like food delivery, for example, and really saw this kind of happen overnight this year as more and more consumers were turning to delivery services as a safer alternative, and a way to still kind of get their favorites, and to, during a time when many of us were socially and physically distancing from one another, have a way to still connect socially, whether that was sharing a drink over a Zoom with friends and family, or settling in at the end of the night after working all day on your computer to enjoy your favorite glass of whiskey. Beverage alcohol today is the fastest growing CPG, so we really see this as the start, as a very start of a very promising future for the growth of this category in particular. So when we talk about who the Drizzly customer is specifically, I know there are a number of solutions out there for consumers to access their favorite wine and spirits. We primarily are bringing in millennials and Gen Xers. By nature of our serviceability and where we offer today, our consumers are primarily urban, higher income, highly social, in normal times, high restaurant and bar frequency. They like to learn a little bit about the products that they're purchasing, and might sometimes put on airs that they know a little bit more than they might about what they're drinking. I have never personally done that before. They're not overly price sensitive, but like a good deal. And then in terms of what they've been shopping for, so, our focus is on spirits today. We did see a pretty dramatic increase in growth in spirits over the last few months in particular, and had a pretty sizable mix shift. So historically, wine has been the top seller on Drizzly. Spirits have overtaken that for the first time this year and are holding strong. Additionally, within that category specifically, we are seeing premiumization as is happening kind of across the board within the industry. And generally too, as we saw this initial shift from on-prem to off-prem, we did see cocktail culture kind of come home as more and more consumers were trying to mix up their own favorite recipes, particularly when they didn't have access to their favorite bars and restaurants during the early days. So we've now got, I think, kind of a stockpile of different ingredients at home for people to experiment with moving forward. During the peak of COVID, liqueurs, mixers, bitters, cordials were up on Drizzly somewhere around 1,200% year over year. So people were definitely diving into this trend specifically. And then from a categorical perspective, hard seltzer has definitely been the winner in the non-spirits world, but in the spirits world specifically, tequila has been experiencing massive growth on Drizzly. RTDs are skyrocketing, and then other rising spirits include gin and mezcal as well. The top sellers from a spirits perspective on Drizzly do remain whiskey and vodka specifically today. And then what all this growth has looked like year over year for Drizzly specifically. So, in those early months, we were experiencing 6.5 times sales growth. New customers were up about 8 times over the year prior. And then our retail partners joining the platform grew by about 3 times. So, definitely this inflection point period where both from a consumer demand perspective, but also a supply perspective, really just experiencing, pretty unprecedented growth. And, I would say has been certainly humbling during this year in particular, but really has underlined the impact that I believe e-commerce is going to have on this category for the long term. And just as another, proof point there specifically, this report came out in January of 2020 before the inevitable shifts that happened in March on. And Rabobank put out this report that estimated that companies were missing out on billions in alcohol e-commerce sales. And if we think back to that chart that I shared earlier in terms of that hockey stick growth, this has only accelerated. So the time to, begin to invest in e-commerce, whether you are a brand or retailer, at any point within the 3-tier system, the time is really now to, see this as a critical diversification strategy for your business at a minimum. So how different organizations can partner with us here at Drizzly. If you represent a brand, you can visit us at brands.drizzly.com. We partner with brands in a number of different ways, from on-site activation and advertising, so making sure you're showing up in the right ways on Drizzly, to helping enable whatever marketing, media, sales efforts you have today, and then also the ability to tap into some of the data and insights that we have to not only inform product development strategy, but also marketing, better understanding kind of what your consumers are looking for and interested for so that you're adapting your business strategy based on that. From a retailer perspective, there is no cost to join Drizzly as a retail partner beyond just, business growth, which is the number one reason why retailers join us is to, access new customers, expand their footprint, grow their sales. We do also just offer a full suite of tools to really help retailers succeed online. Partner with them directly. We have an incredible account management and CX customer service team to really make sure that they're helping to partner with our retailers to, identify new ways for them to succeed and grow their business on Drizzly specifically. And then beyond that too, we do provide also to our retailers market insights, reporting, things like top sellers in their areas so that they're not only optimizing for online, but also in store too. One learning from this year in particular is that, the e-commerce experience is actually omni-channel. So customers, even in store, it was something like 40% of Drizzly customers actually use the site when they're in store shopping. So they're researching brands, product information, pricing. So it really is a full omni-channel shopping experience that both retailers and brands need to be thinking about and to make sure that they're showing up in the right ways online. And then the last is for distributors. We also do partner with distributors today. So, thinking about ways to activate brand content with the brands that you work, making sure that they're showing up on Drizzly, partnering with us to build your retailer's digital presence to increase your sales. And then again, kind of that consumer and market insights side of the business as well. And then if none of those apply, there are other ways to get involved too. So we are in the fortunate position of hiring right now. So if you're interested in joining the Drizzly team, you can head to drizzly.com/careers. We do also have a free data and insights platform called BevAlc Insights, which, we release category reports, trend analyses, case studies on other partners that are succeeding on the platform and online in general to help you get insights to drive your business. And then for anyone who's personally interested in purchasing a little something to enjoy this weekend or next week, you can treat yourself and head to Drizzly and use code Park Street for $5 off. So that's it for me. Thank you so much for following along.
All right. Well, before anything else, I would like to thank Park Street and Arthur Shapiro for inviting me to be a part of this panel on the current and future state of the direct-to-consumer channel within our industry. I think that we would all agree that the last 6 months, as Liz was saying, have been incredibly disruptive in everyone's life. COVID has profoundly changed the way in which we operate, both at a personal and professional level. And in this presentation, I would like to focus in which ways our industry has been affected, but most importantly, in the way that it has changed it for good. At Fashion Street, we've been engaged in the direct-to-consumer space for over 6 years now. And since day one, we have been calling it a new distribution channel. We have seen the transformation from different players in the industry, from distributors to consumers, on their approach to online sales. I think that at the beginning, the major obstacle was convincing people that this was a real possibility within our industry. The three-tier system is so ingrained in the way that we do business in the United States that people would automatically disregard the notion of direct-to-consumer, assuming that it simply could not be done. If you would like to sell your products in the United States, then you have to go through importers, distributors, and retailers in order to reach the consumer. The interesting part of this is that such view is totally accurate. Direct-to-consumer is not a reality. What we have is the perception of direct-to-consumer. Because at the end of the day, products still have to go through the three tiers as they make their way into the final consumer. But in this case, perception is really everything. You only need the consumer to understand that he can use his phone or computer for purchasing a bottle of his favorite wine or spirit in order for him to have this perception that direct-to-consumer is real. And in today's world, that is simply inevitable. Younger generation, starting with the millennials, which is mostly the group that we need to be looking at as they are today between 22 and 37 years old, they grew up with technology. For them, everything is acquirable through their mobile device. And the younger you go within that bracket of consumers, the more real that becomes. A 25-year-old would find it ridiculous even to have the discussion if the direct-to-consumer channel will become a thing in the following years. He would probably argue that it will become the main thing in the following years. If COVID has given us anything, it's a glimpse into a world in which online sales are the most important channel for a product. During the last 6 months, brands have had to rethink their whole strategies in order to survive. With bars and restaurants closed and people in lockdown, direct-to-consumer becomes a lifeline. And as things go back to normal, what has changed is that the consumer now understands that you can now get your drinks delivered just like you get anything else. So you, as an industry player, whether you are a brand owner, a distributor, or retailer, you have an option. Will you take seriously what the younger consumer expects from us, or will you dismiss it by saying that this is not the way in which things are done in our industry? As we get older, it is harder to change our ways of looking at things. Change becomes more difficult, and as a consequence, we lack an understanding of the worldview of younger people. But that doesn't change the fact that the new is the force that triggers the change. And that's why change is simply inevitable. Just like any other distribution channel, direct to consumer has to be seen through its own lens. And by that, I mean that the way to approach it has to be different. The off-premise, for instance, relies on the face-to-face interaction for completing a sale. That's why the prevailing strategy for a brand in that channel is to do tasting. In the off-premise, on the other hand, it's all about placement, recruiting, and repetition. So what is it in the direct-to-consumer channel that motivates consumers to purchase? What makes the consumer purchase a new product if he has not tried it before? On that point in particular, we sometimes find it to be very difficult for some people to understand why would a consumer purchase a new product without having had the opportunity to try it yet. Up until now, most people would probably taste a wine, a spirit, or a beer before actually going to the store to purchase. In fact, a prevailing school of thought on how to build a brand is this. You build the brand in the on-premise to eventually drive customers to the off-premise, right? So many people would understandably say that there is no way potential consumers are going to buy a product that they've never had before. But I would tell you this, don't take my word for it. Take our experience for it. Most people that purchase the product that we sell are first-time buyers. So what becomes absolutely important is to understand the psyche of this consumer. And by understanding him and in which ways he is already interacting with other products and companies through his mobile device, is that we find the avenues and the tools needed to present your message in a relevant way to the potential customer. On this regard, I would like to share with you what we have seen to be some of the most effective strategies when engaging customers with technology. Just like in the physical world, in the digital plane, you have some of the same tools to get your message across. While you would purchase advertising in a magazine or TV ad or radio spot, you can buy similar advertising space within the pages that your target consumers are visiting. But this is when it gets interesting, because unlike placing an ad in a magazine based on a target audience that the magazine has, today you can target your customers regardless of the media outlet. The difference being that you are now not advertising in media outlets as a vehicle to find your consumer, but advertising directly to your target audience regardless of the media outlet. So your message follows the customer in his navigation experience through the web, capturing his behavior in an ever more sophisticated and predictive model on what the customer might react to. This trend, championed obviously by companies like Facebook and Google, is built under the umbrella of personalization. More than anything else, I believe that this is the phenomenon that defines our generation. The information that we willingly give to these companies through our social media feed, our online searches, our likes, dislikes, comments, etc., gives these companies the opportunity to target their customers like never before. But just as important and as reaching your target consumer is, it is equally, if not more important, to engage with these customers with messages that are relevant to them. What any product needs to keep in mind is that it is not about the product itself. It is about their customers and what they want. You can have the greatest rum liquid in the planet, for instance, and you can be out and about sharing your message with the world that your rum is second to none, and that you have earned all these medals, and that your production method is unique, and that the ingredients used in crafting the product were of the highest quality, etc. But if your target rum consumer is looking for brands that stand for a cause, relevant to the worldview that they live in, and you have nothing to say on that regard, then it really doesn't matter that you have the greatest liquid. And you actually run the risk of being seen as out of touch. Going back to the millennial generation, this is a group used to being presented products in the most personalized way. Companies today spend much of their efforts to understand what triggers them at an individual level. In return, this contributes to the expectation on the consumer side that companies should be creating products that fulfill the need that they have personally as customers. The more you understand me, the better your chances to sell your products to me, right? So most likely the reason why I personally have these views on change within our industry is because as a company, we at Passion Spirits have gone through these changes ourselves. I've been in the wine and spirits industry for over 20 years, mostly involved in sales and marketing and operating same as everybody else by dealing with importers, distributors, and retailers on a daily basis. It is only in recent years that we morphed into a technology company, and that's something I think that it's important when operating within the direct-to-consumer space. We should not only be offering a service, but understanding how our partners in the fulfillment process view this service and how we create a model that benefits everyone. At a structural level, our industry has had little to no change for decades. And as a result of that, companies become very rigid in the way they do things. Even when presented with evidence on how technology would increase their sales and overall revenue, many players in our industry are uncomfortable to give it a try. So this is why it's so important to understand the intricacies of our industry. This is why it's so important to understand how the various players operate and what they expect from a partner. What we present, so we present the technology while factoring in their expectations into that process. Next, I would like to discuss our experience relating to our proprietary approach in white labeling online stores for emerging brands in particular. We have built a business designed on helping new, unknown brands find a route to market through a direct-to-consumer channel. And this has provided these small players the long-awaited David strategy to level the playing field with the Goliaths of our industry. The small producer, the unknown brand, now has a real shot in getting customers to prefer their products over the known and established brands. By creating unique, custom-made online platforms for each one of our clients, we take a step forward in the personalization approach to offer the customer what he is looking for, without clutter, without distractions, just what the customer is looking for. And by doing this, we have found an appreciation of customers that know what they want. And they want it now, and they expect for you to facilitate it to them. Finally, I would like to end this presentation by saying that we're living through groundbreaking, disruptive times within our industry. This will be seen as the times in which the direct-to-consumer distribution channel arrived and became part of every company's strategy moving forward, as it should be. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you to Arthur and Emily and Park Street and my fellow panelists. This is an exciting opportunity to share what Spirits Network is all about. We are a shoppable streaming entertainment network designed to deliver spirits right to your home. Spirits Network is not only on your TV, as you can see behind me, Apple TV. We're an app like a Netflix or a Hulu that you can download. Going to spiritsnetwork.com and signing up allows you to access us on all the apps. So you can download us on Apple TV, Apple iOS, Android, and we have over 200 hours of streaming entertainment that enables consumers to learn about the world of premium spirits. We also have programming on wine as well. And we are excited to help the industry tell their story to consumers. We understand that there are a lot of different options, as you know, from some of the panelists here, discussing ways for brands to engage with consumers. So Spirits Network is streaming entertainment with home delivery and enables consumers to buy what they see right from their TV. What you'll notice, whether you're on your TV or your mobile device, in the lower left-hand corner, there is a buy bar or a tray that comes up, and with one click with a little lightning bolt, you can actually purchase it in one take, one action. And then you can also create wish lists, a locker of things that you love and you want to reorder. And our system is designed to help you discover. So the more that you purchase through Spirits Network, the more that you engage with Spirits Network and content, you actually can learn more, but you can also help the system learn about you. The more you do, the more we can recommend. We recommend both content and we recommend product. We have an opportunity to drive not only discovery for consumers, but for brands, we can actually help tell your story in a meaningful and authentic way. The way that we drive this experience is through brand partnerships. And we also work in a 3-tier compliant system with retail partnerships. We have fulfillment partners that include, Minibar, Reserve Bar. We also work with retailers directly to fulfill these orders. The challenge the industry has been seeing with fulfillment and allocation, we're not immune. So Spirits Network is both solving some of those challenges and facing some of those challenges. And what we have found is that the consumers that are gravitating towards our network are really highly engaged enthusiasts, high net spend, highly excited about learning about mixology and the world of whiskey and understanding how it's made and the stories behind it. And what we've seen through the COVID period, which has been an incredible transformation, is a real influx in both membership. Our membership is free, so you do need to sign up and verify your age and provide an email address. And then when you go to make a purchase, you can then put in your credit card information. We work with a network of retailers. We're supporting all of the local retailers that we can. We also recognize that people have a lot of time at home. Unfortunately, quarantine has kept us inside. And so we've seen over a 500% increase in membership since we started and since we've essentially entered this COVID period. People that really engage with the platform, are visiting us multiple times a day. Purchases, we've seen over 35% of our audience purchase spirits right from our channels. We think our experience extends itself to both bridging that gap between a marketplace and a storefront and an entertainment network. So similar to what Food Network did for culinary, we're doing for premium spirits. Our functionality and the way the technology works is really easy to use and ultimately on every device. So click to buy in the lower left-hand corner, as well as a traditional storefront. So when you go to our site or our app, you will see Discover, Watch, Store, and those sections help you kind of have different user interfaces. So Discover is all about creating your user profile to drive discovery. Show me new content. I love whiskey. I love tequila. Show me what's out there. Subscriptions range from free, which is watch and purchase on demand, with home delivery. We're able to deliver today in 30 states and in 50 cities. And then we also have a bottle of the month experience. So we have 2 levels, both connoisseur, which is our highest end level, and enthusiast. Those allow you to get a full-size bottle delivered to your home every month. Those bottles are handpicked by our curation team. We have some of the best curators in the industry. We're led by folks like Flavian Desablin, Fred Minnick, Peggy No Stevens, Samara Rivers. We have folks that are really helping the consumer with their knowledge. Some of these experts have spent their entire career in the world of spirits, and so they're helping you guide your spirits exploration, building your profile and building your palate, if you will, as part of the Spirits Network experience. So understanding those data points and understanding that from the consumer side allows us to really bring that to the brand partners that we work with. We work with large brand partners, multinational spirits conglomerates, including Diageo, Moet Hennessy, Campari. And then we also work with smaller, more independent brands like Whistle Pig and others. And so our analytics tools allow us to drive that data back to the brand in a very anonymous and kind of user profile component where they can see a total 360 picture. Essentially, it's showing you what a customer is watching, what they're buying, what they're potentially going to buy. So if they put an item in their cart and they don't purchase it, or they put an item in their wish list and they don't purchase it. But something that's also kind of happened with us recently in the COVID kind of environment is we have done a lot of virtual tastings. The virtual tasting experience for us is a whole new frontier. These are small groups of 30 to 40 people led by one of our curators that allows you to essentially connect and be in a virtual environment similar to a Zoom call where you can now get bottles pre-delivered to you and you can have someone guide you through those tastings. We have found that to be incredibly valuable, not only for the consumer who loves the idea of being able to see other people and interact, because ultimately, beverage alcohol consumption typically is a social activity, but also one of the things that we've really enjoyed is that it's become like a virtual focus group. We've been able to feed back to brands things like people's perception of the bottle and labeling, people's perception of the taste or the price point. We found that there's a lot of good that's come out of these challenging times. That said, like many of my other panelists mentioned, we've noticed that there's a lot of challenges in the fulfillment space and in the home delivery space for a lot of reasons. As it was mentioned, we've seen growth in essentially 6 months with what usually would take 10 years. So I think the industry is paying, I think the industry is playing a bit of catch up, which is fine. And ultimately we help to enable that. What we bring as part of our operations and part of our facilitation of these stories direct to consumer is a total solution. So we can create the content, we can create and produce the physical content. We've done both live streams weekly, both in Spirits Network and on Facebook and YouTube. And then we've also enabled the delivery and the fulfillment experience with our partners and being able to help ensure that the customer experience is superior. So one of the things that I really enjoy about Spirits Network, and I encourage everybody to go to spiritsnetwork.com and sign up and try this out, is watching a great piece of content. We have documentaries, for example, Tales from the Cask, The Spirit of Don Julio talks all about what it's like to watch an influencer and someone who has a lot of knowledge in the space go to the region of Mexico where tequila is produced, learn from the locals, experience the culture, the nightlife. Obviously, we produced this pre-COVID, but in a time when travel is probably something we're all itching to do, this is a really cool escape. And this is a scene from that piece. And it's an 18-minute documentary, a mini documentary, if you will. And it really is through the eyes of our influencer and our expert. And what you'll notice is that you have the ability to purchase. And so as you're leaning back on your big flat screen TV, you have the ability to take your remote and in a simple click, purchase that product and have it delivered right to your home. So we're excited about that experience. I find, it's a very lean back experience is where more mobile is very lean forward in very short form. We have content for everybody. We have stuff that is 2 minutes long. Spirits for Beginners is one of our great series. In 2 to 4 minutes, you can learn about any category you want, from cognac to vodka to tequila to single malt. We have another great series called Whiskey Wednesdays that we do every Wednesday live, where it's a virtual tasting with live Q&A. We also have a great show called Grillin' It, which essentially pairs food and spirits together. and shows you how to incorporate spirits into your cooking, but also to pair great cocktails to those experiences. So one of the things that we get a lot of questions about from our partners and from the world is, who is our audience and what does our membership look like? And so here are just some great stats that we're proud of. We have a great reach of over 100 million devices. Again, OTT, which is streaming TV, and that's a media industry term that basically means your Apple TV, your Amazon Fire, your Roku. We're developing the platform for those channels. Right now, we're live on Apple TV. Of course, Google and Apple iOS App Store is another great place to find it, or spiritsnetwork.com. One of the things that we did was we really worked hard on the user interface to make sure that when you're on any of these devices, it feels and looks very similar, and it's as easy to use. We reach over 10 million spirits consumers. We're very targeted. We made a conscious effort early in this process to be something to someone versus being everything to everyone. We get a lot of views both on our network, and we have partnerships with other syndication platforms like Maxim, for example. We syndicate all of our programming to their social channels and to their website. And we have other partners that we do that for, including traditional television. We have some announcements coming. We're going to be doing some TV integrations on broadcast and cable. We also have done some really fun stuff. We were on Jimmy Kimmel Live, where Jimmy and Guillermo ordered spirits on the show earlier in the summer. We've seen, like I mentioned earlier, a 500% increase in engagement and subscriptions since the beginning of COVID-19. We have a 55% female audience. I think that speaks volumes to the audience that is really not being served in a lot of ways. I mean, clearly, females are making up a large portion of the new bourbon and single malt whiskey experience, and also the category. And what you're seeing is more and more consumers, whether they're in that 28 to 48 range, we typically find are most engaged with us. Average household income of 75,000 or more. Our cart sizes continue to grow. We have an average $198 cart size. 35% of our customers are buying on our platform, and we can deliver in 30 states and in 50 cities. And part of what we're also working on is international distribution as well. We're going to be working in the European market at the beginning of next year and beyond. As I mentioned, you might have seen us on various places like Jimmy Kimmel Live. We've been featured in Fortune, CNBC, Forbes, Fox Business. The real exciting part here for us is that we've been able to really tell a story through entertainment. I think people are frankly tired of commercials, tired of interruptive advertising. My background is both as a TV and content and film producer, extends itself all the way through to working with major brands. So prior to being in the spirits industry, we were working with major companies like Marriott, IBM, Walmart, Coca-Cola. Every brand has the same mission. They want to tell a story and they want to sell something. So Spirits Network allows people to do that. So one of the things that makes Spirits Network so special, and something that is really important to us as we build our network, is that we are a community. We are inclusive of the spirits industry. We want to hear from every part of this industry. Some of our faces of our programming and the people that are involved in our programming are people that you've seen before. Folks like Fred Minnick and Flavian Desablin, Rob Floyd, Peggy No Stevens. They're also people that you haven't seen before. And so, we're excited to not only feature the faces of spirits that you've seen and the industry that you've seen, but also to bring new faces and to bring diversity. We've had a great partnership with Samara Rivers and Black Bourbon Society. We have more of those types of partnerships coming out. We're launching new programming every week, so there's something fresh on the network all the time. We have feature films, we have documentaries, we have short form programming, we have stuff that's great just for a quick bite, snackable content. But at the same time, part of it is the community. The spirits industry, I think, is one of the very few communities out there that is a small industry, and it is really tightly knit. And we have a lot of respect and admiration for the people that have dedicated their career to it, but also, the distillers and the maturing brands as well as the bigger players and everybody involved. It takes a lot of people to deliver that product to your home, whether it's the delivery person all the way through to the producer and the distributor and the people that are essentially making sure it's on those store shelves. So we're excited about the future of this space. We are really want to extend an open invitation to anyone watching today to reach out to us, to collaborate, and work with us. We are creators. We are storytellers. We're passionate. We love this space. I picked the category to start our first network like this because I'm a big whiskey drinker. I enjoy single malt and I have a new love for bourbon and all of the things that bring this community together. So I want to thank you for having me today. I'm honored to be part of this panel. I think everyone has brought some really great insight here. And I would encourage you all to try spiritsnetwork.com and become a member and sign up to our Bottle of the Month experience. And it's really something that I think you'll enjoy.
First, I want to thank our panelists. That was fascinating. We got to look at the direct-to-consumer business from a lot of different perspectives and points of view. And yet there's still a lot of commonality, even though the platforms are quite different. Audiences and targets are quite different. Let me start off with a question, two-part question, actually, for the entire panel. Everyone here, myself included, talked about the growth, the spurt in growth due to the coronavirus. You saw Liz's numbers, which were incredible. Alain showed sharp increases. So did Nick. So my first question for you is, what kind of growth do you see in the future for direct-to-consumer shipment of spirits? Is it going to continue to grow? Is it going to flatten? Or do you think that once things come back to normal, it's going to decline? What's your view of the future once we're past the coronavirus issue?
I do believe that this is going to continue to grow. As I mentioned earlier, the industry, the category specifically was already growing, albeit slower than some other categories. But we've crossed over, I think, the 8% penetration line at this point in time in terms of e-commerce shopping. And, all forecasts that we're looking at are pointing to rising to anywhere from 18 to 25% in the next few years. So I think you will absolutely see some kind of a stabilization and a little bit of a mix shift, back to offline, once we get through all of this. But I do believe that this will continue to grow, specifically for spirits too, as evidenced by the fact that category on Drizzly specifically did overtake wine this year.
Thank you, Liz. Nick, Alain, points?
Yeah, sure. I totally agree with Liz. I think that what happened during COVID here is that people actually got the awareness that this is a possibility, right? So it is not because we are in COVID, you shifted to order online. No, COVID happened and people are like, oh, no, I can buy like this. So either wine or spirits. So now they know it. And if they have the awareness, then that awareness is gonna stick. And especially if you combine that with the fact of like I was discussing in the presentation, with the type of consumer that is getting this awareness. That consumer is someone that is already used to buying everything online, and this is the way that he operates. So he just understood now, and every moment that passes, more people are understanding that this is a reality. So that is, for me, the reason why this is here to stay, and the reason why I believe that brands, small and big, have to take it seriously, because this might very well be the next big thing in our industry.
Thanks, Alain. Nick, do you have a point of view on that?
Absolutely. I would echo what the other panelists had said. And my point of view is that not only did this accelerate things, but ultimately what it's done now is taken the on-premise experience into the off-premise world. And the only way to stand out is through storytelling. I mean, I'm obviously a little bit biased because that's what we do, but I'm a storyteller, and I think people are engaged when people are telling good stories. And I don't necessarily think any other CPG category has the power of these great stories that the spirits industry does. I mean, there are so many great stories behind every bottle. And I do think what you would get in that, traditional retail experience, whether it's asking the store owner what great bourbon or what great tequila they recommend, and getting that personal touch, or going to a bar or a place like Brandy Library in Tribeca in New York, and trying all these great whiskeys and then deciding what you'd like to buy at home. I think a lot of that is changed forever, but I do think the importance of expertise and storytelling and guidance here for the either the beginner or the intermediate or even the expert spirits drinker is still more alive than ever. I think one of the things, and I say this with all due respect to the industry, is that a lot of this is unnecessarily complicated. There are necessary complications, which is mostly rooted in the 3-tier regulatory system. But I found that, at least from Spirits Network, when we were out there kind of talking to the industry early on, we were a cool, nice to have tool that everybody looked at as a future, something we want to do in the future. I think COVID has made it a must have. And I think more importantly, these trends are here to stay. I think consumers are more aware than ever that they can do this now. I think the folks that can deliver that seamless experience are going to win. I don't think one player takes all here. I think ultimately it's an industry that is going to need a lot of coordination to make that easy. The joke I've always made is the consumer doesn't know about the 3-tiered system, nor do they care. So why do we make it feel like they have to work with that? I actually like to try to make it as transparent to us in the industry as we can, but also as opaque to the customer as possible, because ultimately they just want it when they want it. Amazon has obviously driven a lot of that behavior. And I do think that whether you're a big spirits company who might have invested a lot in events and physical events or on-premise marketing with ambassadors, and that's in your mind the only way, needs to open up and broaden their ideas and their mind and to innovate and to do it quickly. I also think that if you were an innovator and you were doing all of these virtual things and using the power of e-commerce early, that it's your opportunity now to double down and really own it. And I think ultimately, not only do we have continuation of this trend, but my hope is that when we can return to these, physical establishments, bars, restaurants, and stores, that we'll all be a lot smarter about the customer's wants and needs, and we'll have the data and the tools to get them what they want when they want it.
Thank you, Nick. I think I said two parts of the question, but I think all of you have covered the second part. So I'm going to move into what Nick just mentioned about the consumer. I'd like each of you to tell us, is your consumer base, your base of people coming to your platform, are they concentrated or are they more widespread? In other words, is there a 80-20 rule where 20% of your customers account for 80% of your volume, or 25-75? Spend a minute with us and tell us about your consumer in terms of, I guess, depth versus breadth on your platforms. Alan, would you like to start, please?
Sorry, but just to understand further the question, in which sense, 80-20 or whatever the mix might be, in terms of demographics or in terms of returning customers? How do you see it?
Returning customers and purchasing.
Yeah, so basically, one thing that's been interesting for us, remember that we mostly focus on emerging brands, is to see that around 55% of all purchases that we see in the site are for first-time buyers. People that are buying, and because we know these products that sometimes are, have limited distribution and are new brands in the United States, we can see that it's the first that most of these people most likely have never had the chance to try this product, and that's something very interesting. It's something that relates to what Nick was saying a moment ago about the importance of having an interesting story behind the brand. It is all about that, if you ask me, and that's why probably Nick has and the Spirits Network is hitting the nail in the head right there, because it is all about who giving the customer, the consumer, a reason to purchase. That's why this new consumers are looking for new products. And another statistic that would be difficult to pin out here is that we do not have a specific target consumer that I would tell you, yeah, most people are between 24 and 30 years old. No, it absolutely depends on the product that you are discussing, or if you are bringing a bourbon brand that it's depends on the story that you're going to be relevant for someone being 40 years old or above, or maybe some bourbons are trying to hit a younger demographic. So really, the spread of consumers. It's a wide range of consumers. That's why the millennials that I was saying, they're currently between 22 and 37 years old. It's a big range, but really it's where you see a big concentration of the purchases happen with it niche of consumers. So that's how we're experiencing.
Liz, how would you answer that question? Does the Drizzly customer concentrated, same people coming back again? Do you have a lot of first-time shoppers, as Alan has just said? Tell us about your consumer in terms of purchase behavior.
Yeah, so we do follow pretty closely to the classic 80-20 rule. This year in particular, I believe I mentioned, but we saw about 8 times growth in new buyers specifically. So this year, I think, was pretty critical in driving new folks to the platform, as like we were all talking about, awareness increased across the board. But we do expect that to continue to stabilize around that 80-20. So for us, it's really like we've got a split focus on ensuring that we're continuing to bring new folks onto the platform, but at the same time, making sure that we're paying attention to our existing customers, particularly that 20-30%, having conversations with them, listening to them, understanding what about the platform is working today and what isn't, thinking about the product selection and, ensuring that we're continuing to innovate and optimize what we offer so that people want to keep coming back, because we do absolutely, see the value in focusing there.
Thank you. Nick? You've got different levels. You've got people who join for free, and you have subscription, etc. What about this 80-20 rule? Do you have a core or concentrated group of viewers, purchasers, or is it much more widespread than that?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting that we've seen, we started off as a completely subscription-based membership network, even on the content level. And during COVID, we made a decision to offer a free option and then 2 levels of paid. When we started the free option, we saw a tremendous amount of new spirits enthusiasts, I'm going to call them, because they're not first-time drinkers. They're not usually 21 to 25. They're usually later in their kind of spirits exploration, and they're looking, okay, I know I like old fashions, but I want to try every variation of what I can make with an old fashioned recipe. Or I love whiskey, but I really like single malt and I don't like peat that much. So what are all the non-peated single malts I can try? And so what we have found is that a lot of those types of customers are coming in. And then candidly, when you look at our membership base, we have celebrities in there. We have, multimillionaires and billionaires in there. And then we have people that are essentially just a huge advocate and a huge enthusiast and have a huge collection at home, and it's their hobby, right? So the thing for us is that we have a really high value target customer. We made like a very conscious effort in the beginning to not create a scaled catch-all kind of model. Our model was more about that high value target customer that is a discerning customer that is looking for more than a storefront, a typical storefront. And one of the things that I've also seen that I think is important for the industry to know is that the power of owning your customer and that data and that relationship is next to none. I mean, right now, when you think about most large liquor companies are spending hundreds of millions and billions of dollars with Google and Facebook, and even the other kind of intermediaries that are doing online delivery of spirits are doing the same thing. And essentially, all we're doing is renting our audience on these platforms. We don't own them. We rent them. We pay more every day to get them. But for us, once we bring them into our community, our world of spirits, even if it's a smaller group, we have that ownership and we have that trust and we have that relationship. And we really try to make it white glove and make it feel more like you're not just a number in a system. You're actually an individual that we want to connect with. And what we've done is we've actually made more human connections. Call us, email us, send us a note versus just, everything's so kind of like algorithmic and you just feel like you're part of an ecosystem versus a community. So I think we've seen a real aptitude and a real excitement from an audience that has really, really been ignored, I think, or underserved in a lot of ways.
Liz, I have a specific question for you, one that I think about every day, actually, during the course of my practice. Many of my clients are small or emerging brands who have difficulty finding an optimal route to market. Is the I keep calling it Disney, and I don't know why I do that. It's the Drizzly. By the way, I'm a good customer, so I could call you whatever I want. Is the Drizzly platform outside their reach, smaller emerging brands? And what thoughts do you have about how Drizzly might be able to help?
Yeah, so good answer is no, we are not. So a few things I would advise for small and emerging brands. One, if we think about our business model, is we effectively bring retailer shelves online. So a focus on distribution when partnering with us does remain key. So thinking about, those retailers that you are in today, are they on Drizzly? If not, how do we kind of work together to make sure that they're showing up so that your brand is too? So that's number one. I'd say two is optimizing your online presence. So that just sounds like some fancy buzzwords, but basically it means showing up in the right way. So I mentioned brands.drizzly.com earlier, but once a brand signs up there, and that could be a brand of any size, you have the ability to manage how your products are showing up on Drizzly. So ensuring that you've got the right product imagery, descriptions, your UPCs are accurate. It sounds like a small step, but it's critical to make sure that consumers can access the most up-to-date information. And branding really does matter in this space when consumers are browsing, potentially thousands of products. If your branding is something that's going to help you stand out, you want to make sure that you're showing up. And then from a marketing perspective, I'd say for brands that have a loyal following themselves, and even if they don't have their own DTC experience today, even if they do, Drizzly is an outlet where they can, legally drive to, encourage those customers to purchase. Beyond that too, we are working on rolling out new solutions and offerings for partners today. We do right now partner with a lot of bigger brands, but we recognize the importance of focusing on small and emerging, and are working to roll out solutions, in the next few months, of course, over the next year in particular. So I'd say, like, for anyone who's not signed up today, do that at brands.drizzly.com, because those will be the folks that we're reaching out to first, when we've got new opportunities for them to build out that experience on Drizzly. And I would say too, like, beyond just the branding, making sure everything looks and sounds right, like content within those PDPs is important too, because that's really your chance to, like Nick was talking about, do some storytelling about your brand so that when someone does discover it on the platform, you're going to give them a little nugget so that they're going to want to make that purchase and give you a try.
Thank you. Alan, let's talk a little bit more about your white label platform. Refreshing everyone's memory, basically a white label is an embedded store on a producer's own site. How do you or the producer drive consumers to an embedded site? In other words, the ability to buy will be on a website. How do you get, there is a concept of build it and they shall come. Well, how do you or your producers make sure that the awareness of the ability to buy this product, small or emerging, is there?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. Thank you. So basically, that is our particular approach. It's a proprietary approach that we came up with back in 2014, actually very new within the direct-to-consumer space. We were the first one to start doing it. And basically, just digging a little bit deeper in there, it's we actually take the time to develop an exclusive and custom-made online store for each one of our clients that connects directly to their website or social media platform, so that whenever their consumers or their people following them are within their Instagram or Facebook or website, they click buy now, and then an online store opens. That most customers, that really, if they're not looking at the URL of it, they don't know or care about the 3-tier system. They simply get the perception that they are buying directly from the source, right? From the brand. So what's interesting is that, so once you have that, like you properly say, Arthur, you need the people to get to it. So we assist at the beginning of our journey 6 years ago. We didn't do anything on that regards. We were only providing the front end, back end, data analytics, all this, and making sure that the fulfillment process with the partner retailers would flow properly. But now we do, because as you can imagine, during 6 years, our database of subscribers and members has grown, exponentially. So we today have, a very big database of proven wines and spirits members, proven buyers of wines and spirits that our clients can access. So, for instance, you are a new rum brand that is launching with us, and you want to put your message out there to, you choose, 20, 50, 60,000 people, that you can do that through us. So by no means, this is like, I like to tell our clients all the time, this is not by all means the only thing that the brands need to do, but it is a good thing to have. It is a good effort or tool if for a specific and targeted effort that you want to do. If you're launching a new cask, and you only have 250 bottles of this particular bourbon, well, it's a great tool to get that in front of 50,000 people. And I can assure you that it will sell out probably in the next 20 minutes. And we do those type of things all the time. But what happens after those 20 minutes, right? I mean, are you going to launch another one and another one? Yeah, you can certainly do that, but we're not going to be doing it every day. So you need to have, as a brand, you need to have an ongoing marketing and PR strategy to get the word out about who you are as a brand, and to get your story out there. And what I've seen is that what is very interesting in this new era is that it's not so much about advertising anymore like it was 10, 20, 30 years ago. It's about, getting this media outlets to run with your story, to love the tequila that you're doing and what you're standing for. And then they look at the story and they say, you know what, I'm going to publish it. Do you mind? Oh, absolutely. I don't mind, publish it and all, whenever you want. So whenever this media outlets, both in print or online, are running with your story, which, number one, as a brand, it doesn't cost you anything, just developing that story. Then that's when you get the customers really engaged with the brand. And what do? They Google a brand, or they look for the brand. And if, in many cases, they will see all the platforms right there. But in many cases, if you're Googling a brand by the name, you're going to end up in the website or the social media platform from that brand. While once you're there, you click buy now, and then you are in the cart or in the online store where you can complete your purchase experience. So for me, the way to drive people into your website as a brand and the online store is by really focusing in working with PR and marketing to get your storytelling and your story out there to your potential customers.
Thank you, Alan. My last question is for you, Nick. It seems to me you have the most unique kind of system. You're not just into transaction, you're also involved with content that deals with entertainment and education. How do you decide on your content? Do you first say, hey, we need to do something in the Armagnac area because it seems to be growing and people going from Cognac to Armagnac? Or do you have an Armagnac client that comes to you and says, hey, we want to be on your platform? I guess my question for you then is, how do you decide on your content, your videos, and what you're going to feature?
Okay, that's a great question, and thank you. I mean, so everybody, I think, between Liz and Elaine, had basically brought together the cornerstone of what I will answer this question with, which is data. I mean, we are very data driven. So to the first part of it is, if the data tells us we have a lot of whiskey drinkers, and obviously that's a broad category, we cover that. If it says we have a lot of single malt or bourbon drinkers, we also try to cover that. But we are agnostic, we are independent, we are neutral in that regard. You know, we are not essentially only branded entertainment or branded integration. We are a network of essentially curated experiences and experts who are helping guide us through the exploration of the category. So just like any other TV network or a streaming network, you know, using a Netflix for an example, you know, they made a lot of Adam Sandler movies because they saw that there was a lot of people watching Adam Sandler movies. The data told them that. We could probably argue that we, as a society, we could probably do with less Adam Sandler movies. But at the end of the day, the idea was the data drove that. We use, you know, two methods: gut, you know, go with your gut. What's good? What's entertaining? What would I watch? And then two, data. But more importantly, you know, we will make a show. We will make a series independent of a brand. If we think it's a good idea, if we think there's an audience for it, we'll take the risk. We'll financially invest in it, and we'll try it out. I mean, we have done a tremendous amount. I mean, we're only a year old, and in a year, we've learned so much about the customer. Sometimes we think it's a great idea and people aren't as engaged. Sometimes we think it's an okay idea and people love it. So it's still a lot of trial and error. But what I will tell you is the data really decides if it lives on. You know, typically we shoot between 1 and 3 episodes of a concept. And then if we see by episode 3 that there's consistent engagement, there's consistent view and completion time, and that people are purchasing, we might have a show that people aren't really buying from, but it's helping to drive a lot of engagement. We'll keep making that show. And then we have shows that people are buying a lot from, and then we're going to keep making that show as well. So it's a bit of a combination of things that drive that decision process. But the cool part is that, you know, we are like a Netflix and an HBO where we're a 21 plus environment. We can take some risks. We can be edgy. We can be cool. This is not, mom and pop TV. This is something that we can really push, a lot of different ways for people to express themselves. But for us, it's story and content first and sales second. And in what we've seen so far is that if you do it right and you're authentic and you're meaningful, but at the same time, we're a business and we have to make money and we have to generate revenue. So what we try to get our brand clients to understand is that this isn't a place to make a commercial. This is a place to tell your story. And if you do it well and you empower storytellers in our community, then you're going to get the results. And every time, and I know it's counter to the most of what the agencies and everyone else do pretty much in every other campaign activation, we are really about that authenticity, about that community, about that storytelling. And if you can capture that and you can empower that, it's kind of like, I think Jimmy Iovine with Beats in the documentary said, you know, how was he so successful in creatives? He would, hire the best creatives and get out of the way. It's like if people hire the best creatives and get out of the way and let us do our thing, the results are great. If it becomes a lot of like, talk about the product benefits and all that, people smell it a mile away. And we're not even hiding the fact that it's presented to or brought to you by or presented by a brand. But there's some really cool stuff we got coming out that I'm excited to share with you that is completely independent of any brand involvement. But we said, let's make this show. This is a fun idea. This is a category that hasn't been talked about in the right way. You mentioned Armagnac. Flavian, my chief curator, is a big fan of Armagnac. So we do have some programming coming out about that. And now that we've got wine, we're going to be doing a lot more in that category as well. But we're trying to do things differently, not just, a typical wine review show, but kind of turn it on its head and push the envelope.
Thank you, Nick. To all three of our panelists, I have to tell you, first of all, I wish we had more time because there's a lot of depth to this subject of direct-to-consumer, and you guys have done a sensational job in just covering the bare essentials. I've been involved in this area for 3 or 4 years. I've written articles about it. I have clients that I help do it. And I got to tell you, I learned a lot from the three of you. So there goes my expertise. I can't thank you enough for taking the time, the effort to participate in this panel discussion. Thank you. Back to you, Emily.
Thank you, Arthur.
Okay, hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to find more from us, we have several other offerings for Global Bar Week, or you can see our entire collection at parkstreetuniversity.com.